Hi, welcome to my Revenge Taken channel. Let's start the story. My name is Mary. I'm a single mother raising my son Tom. 3 years ago, I divorced my husband, who was always too busy with work to care for a family. In order to make a living, I've been working part-time as a sales assistant at a local candy store for several years. Ever since I was a child, my mother brought me up to love baking. When I was little, I always dreamed of becoming a pastry chef, although circumstances didn't allow me to achieve that dream. Just being surrounded by sweets and cakes that I adore in this store makes me happy. Mary, I heard you love baking. During break time, the store manager approached me. He must have overheard me talking with a colleague. Yes, I've loved it since I was young. I sometimes come up with my own original recipes and create unique sweets. Really? That's interesting. Would you mind showing me some of your creations sometime? Of course, I'd love to. Thrilled that the manager was interested. The next day, I eagerly brought in my signature cheesecake. This cake is something I've made countless times. I'm very particular about the ingredients, and both my ex-husband and son always loved it. During break, I sliced it up and let everyone at the store taste it. This is delicious, Mary. You've got a talent for this. It's so good. Both the manager and my colleagues were very impressed. It's truly rewarding to see others enjoy something you've put effort into. Then the manager made a suggestion. Thank you for sharing. It was delightful. How would you feel about selling this cheesecake in the store? Really? Are you sure? I looked at the manager in surprise. Absolutely. I want more people to taste this amazing cake. Thank you so much, I immediately agreed. Then I could work in the kitchen specifically to make this cake. Being in the store's kitchen was something I had only dreamed of, even though I was just part-time. It felt like my dream of being a pastry chef had come true. Every day I baked the cheesecake with enthusiasm. Customers who tasted it would often say things like, "It was so delicious. I'll be back to buy it again." It felt so wonderful. Lately, the manager has been consulting me about new dessert ideas. It felt great being recognized for my hard work. I was truly glad to be working at this store. I really felt that. Then one day, a man in a suit walked into the store. "Welcome. How can I?" Oh, upon seeing the man's face, I inadvertently let out a gasp. The man stared at me, maybe for a moment. It was my ex-husband, Jake, whom I had divorced 3 years ago. Jake quickly composed himself and attempted a smile. "You seem well, Mary." "Yes, I guess. I never thought I'd run into him here," and quickly averted my eyes. "You work here?" "Yeah, ever since we broke up." "When did you get back from your overseas assignment?" "Just recently." Jake chuckled awkwardly, not quite sure what to say. An awkward silence hung in the air. Feeling it was inappropriate, I quickly spoke up. "So, what can I get you?" "Oh, sorry, I have an important meeting with a client later. Just stopped by to get a gift. Any recommendations?" Jake said, peering into the display case, his gaze fixed on the cheesecake. "Mary, is this the cheesecake you used to make?" He seemed to recognize it immediately. I couldn't believe he remembered. "Yes, I made it. The manager liked it so much he let me put it on display." "I see, it really is delicious." Jake looked at the cake fondly. Seeing that, I offered, "How about I pack up that cake and a few others for you?" "Yeah, that'd be great." I carefully chose several cakes, including the cheesecake. I might have been a bit biased with my choices, but they're all our bests. So I packed them into a box and handed it to Jake, who smiled warmly. "Thanks." "You're welcome." He lowered his gaze, looking at the box before saying, "It's good to see you doing well. I'm really sorry about back then." Hearing this, I looked down. "It's in the past. Take care." "How's Tom?" "He's in 2nd grade now." "Well, time flies." Jake looked like he had more to say, but another customer walked in, so he quickly left. "I'll see you." "Thanks." "Thank you for coming." I quickly switched my mind to attend to the new customer. It was truly surprising to run into him here. I didn't expect to see him here. I wondered, did I manage to keep a straight face? But I was genuinely glad to see he was doing well. However, the next day brought about some unexpected trouble. As usual, after placing the cheesecake in the display, I was prepping for the day's opening. In the midst of it all, a woman entered the shop. She was a beauty with shiny long hair, looking stunning in a bright red dress. Everything about her screamed luxury, probably a daughter of some rich family. This was a local small-scale shop, not known for high-end treats. Her entrance felt a bit out of place. She stood at the entrance, sizing up the place. I hesitantly approached her. "Welcome, ma'am. Can I help you with anything?" As she turned, she shot me a piercing glare and approached with a loud clack of her heels. Then, with a twisted expression on her beautiful face, she asked, "Are you a full-timer or a part-timer?" Part-timer. Caught off guard by the sudden question, I replied with confusion. At that, she burst into laughter. "Part-timer? So what do you do here?" "Well, I mainly handle customer service, and I also make some of the cakes." Feeling overwhelmed by her assertiveness, I answered more than I needed to. After hearing my response, she raised an eyebrow. "Baking cakes as a part-timer? This shop must be understaffed if they're relying on part-timers to bake. Shows the quality of this place, doesn't it?" she said with her beautiful face distorted in disgust. All I could do was silently watch her. Her sudden shift in demeanor caught me completely off guard. Why was this woman confronting me with such hostility? Fear crept into me because of her. "Just who are you?" Nervously, I asked. She smirked and replied, "I am the granddaughter of the chairman of the Johnson Group and the daughter of the CEO of Johnson Realty." I had heard of the Johnson Group. I vaguely knew they were a major corporation. Why was the heiress of such a big company here in this store? "You know I'm dating Jake now. You're Jake's ex-wife, aren't you?" "What?" I stared at her in surprise. She looked at me triumphantly. Now I understood. Her hostility wasn't towards the shop, but towards me. Her reason for coming made sense. "Jake was bragging about the cake you baked for our meeting yesterday. I thought he got it from some fancy pastry, but here I find it's just a small, shabby shop, and you're just a part-timer," she sneered condescendingly. What a waste of my time. No wonder Jake dumped you. He just felt a little nostalgic seeing you again after a while. I felt relieved I couldn't find words in front of her loud laughter. She continued her rant, saying the cakes here were mediocre at best, and the customers who bought them had no taste at all. With her making such a scene, other customers would hesitate to enter the store. I racked my brains trying to figure out how to send her away without offending her. Just then, "What's all the fuss about?" The manager returned from outside. "Oh, manager," seeing the man next to him, she instantly stiffened. Standing next to the manager was an elegant elderly man in a high-end suit with distinguished gray hair. "Grandpa," she muttered, her face turning pale. Confused, I switched my gaze between them. The old man fixed a stern look at her. "Catherine, I could hear your disgraceful voice all the way outside." Hearing that, her face turned even paler. The manager whispered to me, "That's Chairman Johnson. He's been a fan of my cake since I was young. We're now good friends." "I see, so he is her grandfather. That's why Catherine became so quiet." Sherman Johnson, seeing her speechless, continued, "You spoke ill of someone with such a rude tone. Shameful. As a member of the Johnson family, you should know better." Upon hearing this, she defended herself with a desperate look. "But Grandpa, it's true. The taste was so cheap. Only that cheesecake was good. The only thing I'm not wrong in what I'm saying." "Oh, speaking of the cheesecake," the manager said loudly and clearly, "Mary, that cheesecake, I secretly entered it in a contest." "A contest?" "Yeah, a small contest where novice bakers compete. And guess what? It won the top prize. Congratulations." The manager clapped with a big smile on his face. I was taken aback by this sudden news. winning the top prize in a contest. I can't believe it. I just got the news from the chairman of the sponsoring company. I rushed back to tell you. When I looked at Sherman Johnson in surprise, he was smiling kindly at me. Congratulations, Mary. The cheesecake was wonderful, very delicious. From now on, let's make various cakes. I want you to officially work as a pastry chef here. Me? Really? My voice squeaked at the manager's offer. Becoming a pastry chef, something I've always dreamed of. I couldn't help but tear up. The manager and Sherman Johnson looked at me kindly. Meanwhile, Catherine looked trapped and bewildered. Pointing at me, she said, "Wait, she made that cheesecake. Just a part-time worker. Whether part-time or not, it has nothing to do with baking a cake. What are you thinking, speaking ill of someone without basis?" Sherman Johnson scolded Catherine in a stern tone. The manager here was once a renowned person who ran a popular store in France, and you, not knowing the taste of things, dared to speak so arrogantly. Oh no, hearing this, she looked down, disheartened. "I'm truly sorry for my granddaughter's rude comments," Sherman Johnson said, grabbing Catherine's head and forcing her to bow. "It's okay, I don't mind, but she should apologize to Mary," the manager replied. Catherine glared at me, looking frustrated. Just then, the store door opened again. "Hello, hi there." Oh, it was Jake and his son Tom. The two were holding hands. "Jake, why are you here?" Jake looked away awkwardly when he noticed Catherine. "Tom, why are you with your dad?" When I asked, Tom replied cheerfully, "He was standing in front of our house when I got back from school. He said he had something to tell Mom." Hearing this, he looked at me. "So, Tom brought you here?" "Yeah." Tom was hopping with joy, holding hands with Jake. Watching the cheerful Tom, Jake turned serious and said, "Mary, can we start over?" I was, of course, taken aback by Jake's sudden request, and so was Catherine, who was left to gape with surprise. "What the heck, Jake? What do you mean?" Jake motioned for Catherine to stay put as he continued. "After eating your cake yesterday, I remembered something very important. I realized how badly I had messed up. I got so engrossed in work, wanting to provide for the family. I know I shouldn't be asking this here, but can you give me another chance?" "Jake, weren't you going to marry me?" "Marrying me means wealth. You get any status that you want." Catherine clung to Jake desperately, but Jake wouldn't even meet her gaze, pushing her hands away. "I can't keep up with your demands, and we weren't even dating to begin with. This must be what they mean by going pale." Catherine's face went pale. Perhaps she was experiencing true shock for the first time. Mr. Johnson gently patted her head. "Consider it a life lesson. You've grown up a bit, Catherine." She looked down, her shoulders quivering. "Sorry for the disturbance, everyone. I'll take Catherine home now." Mr. Johnson, taking a stunned Catherine by the shoulder, left the shop. The store went silent. I was still trying to process everything that had happened. Then a customer walked in. The manager quickly moved behind the counter to assist them, with a gesture indicating that Jake and I should sit in the cafe corner. I sat down with Tom and Jake. Jake, with a serious expression, said, "I meant what I said earlier. I'm truly sorry for what I did. Can you let me make it up to you by your side?" Jake said with a serious expression. Tom watched, amused, then leaped at Jake, laughing. "I've been using my maiden name for work for a while now. Would it be okay if I continued using it?" Jake's sigh widened in hearing what I said. I chuckled, seeing his expression. "I want to work as a pastry chef from now on. Will you support me?" "Absolutely." I extended my hand to Jake, and he gripped it firmly in response. Tom added his hands to the mix, and we all burst into laughter. Later, we thanked the manager, and Jake and Tom left the store. The manager, being considerate, told me I could leave early, but I declined and served customers until closing time. Starting tomorrow, I'll be in the kitchen, learning from the manager and seniors, taking my first steps as a pastry chef. Here we go. It's going to get busy with those orders. I hurried home where the two awaited.